The other day on Twitter, I tweeted the following. If you believe the testimony of a relative few who claim that a guy came back to life and floated into the sky, but doubt the testimony of very many who claim to sincerely disbelieve in God, you might have a double standard for Jesus. Now, I've been making this point for a long time, and I like phrasing it this way because it's a little provocative. But I figured it was time to make a video explaining what I'm getting at a little bit more clearly because for some reason, people have trouble wrapping their heads around it. Or desperately try to wiggle out. Let's think for a second about how testimony functions in our day-to-day lives. Consider two claims my wife might make to me. One is, I don't believe fairies exist. And the other is, I saw a squirrel outside today. Now, unless I have a reason to doubt her, I'm going to take her testimony at face value each time, even though they aren't the same sort of claim. When people make ordinary claims about their beliefs and values, or report mundane things like seeing a woodland creature outside, they shouldn't put on the fedora of skepticism without good reason. Our eyebrows should start to raise, however, when they start making more extraordinary claims. For example, if my wife started saying that little green aliens visited her every morning before getting ready for work, my initial reaction would be to say something like, maybe we should go to the doctor. It's not that such a thing is impossible, but that there's much more reason for me to be concerned that she's having hallucinations and might be mentally unwell than there is for me to be worried that her little green friends actually exist. Now, how do these 2 points I've raised relate to Christians having a double standard for Jesus? Let me read my original tweet again. If you believe the testimony of a relative few who claim that a guy came back to life and floated into the sky, but doubt the testimony of very many who claim to sincerely disbelieve in God, you might have a double standard for Jesus. So first, notice that the claim, I don't believe in God, or no, like really, I sincerely don't believe in God, are very mundane claims made by people about their personal psychology. The kinds of claims that we place initial trust in all the time. A lot of people have made claims like these about God historically, and continue to now, myself included. According to those who have sold their soul to a particular interpretation of Romans 1, however, we are not to be believed. But imagine if these same people could get in a time machine and survey all the people living in the past who may not have bothered to explicitly make these claims due to their cultural context. I'm guessing after the traditional concept of theism was explained to them, it would be dismissed out of hand. All of that to say, there's an avalanche of current and potential past testimonial evidence supporting the claim that people can sincerely disbelieve in God. Why do some Christians conspiratorially reject this then? Well, they think Christianity is true and that Christianity entails that they must reject it. But here comes the funny part. Most Christians want to make such a fuss about the value of testimonial evidence, but then you could line up every non-theist who has ever lived in front of one of these people, and they'd have to completely dismiss all of them. But then they'll believe a guy came back to life and floated into the sky, based on decades after the fact written documents that are copying each other verbatim from thousands of years ago.
There's a foolishness to what we believe. It's crazy. Like if anybody ever says it back to you, you know the Holy Spirit's done a work in your life. Like if someone says back to you, okay, so let me get this straight. A virgin gave birth to a guy who was God, but only part of God, but still completely God, but man also. Lived perfectly, so they killed him. They buried him, and then he came back to life, and then he floated back into heaven. And then one day, let me make sure I get all this right. One day he's coming back on a white horse to get us. That's what you believe, partner? What's our response?
Okay, so if you're a Christian watching this, I'm sure that you're not happy with me right now. But please, tap this video next to me where I give a rigorous defense of reasons to doubt Christianity.